Welcome to More Than Meets These Guys. This podcast is a journey through Transformers from the beginning of the animated series, with two old friends coming at it from different perspectives. Together, we will go episode by episode with the occasional extra to look at how the show holds up or if it is a trap of nostalgia. We'll be looking at all things involved in the episode, whether they were real-world factors that crept into the writing or if the episode was typical afternoon cartoon fodder. I'm Evan. I'm the lifelong fan. I'm familiar with most all aspects of the franchise, while Ed is familiar with Transformers, but it was never really something he was into when he was younger. So here we go. Let's kick it off with the new episode. Thank you very much for joining us. Ed, how are you doing, dude?
I'm doing great. So before we get started today, though, I meant to mention last week that the last two episodes that we watched were written by a guy named Douglas Allen Booth, who is apparently an actual honest-to-God Baron. Did you know about this?
Baron?
He's an actual
like
Baron.
Like,
Yeah,
what is his, what do you talk about like a territory of the Baron? I mean, it's not a duchy, it's a duke. What does a Baron control?
a barony, I would imagine. That's how it was in D&D anyway. I don't really know. I don't really know how nobility works in England.
What is he?
But he's apparently he inherited like the title and he has a coat of arms and everything.
Does he have like a castle?
Cool. I don't think he has a castle, but he's actually landed nobility in England. But he also worked on G.I. Joe and robotics. And
it all comes together, man.
But he also was a writer on our hated rivals, the GoBots.
You see, I have to tell you, man, I've had a new resurgence of interest in GoBots, and I'll get into that later as we go. It wasn't nearly as, now there are elements of it was terrible, but it wasn't nearly as bad as I remember.
All right, we'll have to delve into we'll have to delve into that at some point. But then, but to redeem him working with our rival, though, he was also a writer on He-Man,
yeah,
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles,
wow,
and the Garbage Pail Kids cartoon, which are very dear to my heart. And so this guy is extra cool to me at this point. This guy is an honest to God Baron. Wrote a lot of things that I love. He worked on the X-Men cartoon in the 90s,
really
also,
nice.
which I to this day have never seen an episode of, despite being a huge fan of Marvel Comics and in particular a huge fan of 80s X-Men.
That's really kind of bizarre.
That may be a side episode we get to do one of these days.
Yeah, I guess so. And I will never tell you that I was a huge X-Men animated show fan, but it was one of the shows that came on. It was a big deal when it came out because X-Men was just really a comic store franchise that only a fraction of people really knew, and they took they condensed the stories in a lot for the show and such. I didn't really know how much of the condensed down because I wasn't really reading it in the 80s. I've read subsequent issues and volumes since then, but yeah, at the time not really.
So, I was a huge fan of it, and it was almost like it was sort of simmering on the underground, and it just needed something to give that little push to break through to the mainstream. And I think that animated series is kind of what did it. But but anyway, but speaking of nobility and old things, today we're going to have a history lesson. And so I need you to bear with me on this because it's going to become Transformers relevant.
Okay, I'll sit back.
But it may take a bit for me to get there. Okay,
Professor.
All right. So thank you. So there's a thing that got in my brain that I want to talk about, and I'm not sure if this has ever been brought up in the Transformers fan community. Maybe you can shed some light on this once I get to the point. But anyway, if I were to say the name Link Ray to you, would you know who I'm talking about? Link Ray.
I feel like I should know that, but I'm not. It's not jogging.
Okay, well, you should, but don't feel bad. And not enough people have heard of them. But after this, you will, and you'll most likely be a fan. So Link Ray is possibly the most influential and yet also underrated and forgotten guitarists of all time. This guy made a ton of records starting in the 50s and eventually ended up playing guitar for a guy named Robert Gordon in the 1970s. Robert Gordon's career was kind of the start of the whole rockabilly revival that carried over into bands like the Stray Cats in the 80s. And at the time, it tied into the 20-year nostalgia cycle that seems to be a thing because Happy Days was on the air and at the time. But anyway, Link Ray had a fairly big hit in 1958. That is essentially what defined his sound and also became a sort of blueprint for rock and roll moving forward. This is one of the first songs that I know that used guitar distortion, which was kind of a new thing at the time, and a few other effects like tremolo and reverb, really heavy reverb, and things that kind of became commonplace in rock music later and were virtually essential in genres like heavy metal and punk rock.
Yeah.
But anyway, this song that he had in 1958 sounded so violent and disturbing that it was banned by a ton of radio stations. Like, people feared that this was the soundtrack to youth rebellion, and that they thought that like these greasers and juvenile delinquents everywhere were going to hear this song and like riot constantly. Like, these guys in leather jackets with big greased up pompadour hair were going to smash up soda fountains and slash tires and everybody's Chevy Bel Airs and all this kind of stuff. And the thing is, that sounds really silly to us with a 2022 point of view. But at the time, the United States were in sort of a moral panic after things like the communist trials, and more closely tied to this, though, the book of The Seduction of the Innocent, which blamed juvenile delinquency primarily on comic books and rock and roll music, almost like a proto-satanic panic.
Yeah.
But see, what's really funny about this song being banned on those grounds, though, is the fact that the song is instrumental. Yeah, there is not a single word in this song, like not even a beginning call out like in Wipeout, or a single word refrain like in like Tequila or something along those lines. In fact, the majority of Link Ray's songs were instrumental due to the fact that he lost a lung when he was in the army and he couldn't really sing.
Wow.
Right.
So this guy, I'm gonna hate to interrupt you. This guy who's going to lead the youth to rebel was a Army veteran, Purple Heart recipient.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Also a Native American that lived on a farm in North Carolina.
Okay. I see where all this rebellion is coming from. Okay.
Yeah, but anyway, you might be asking me, how is this greaser rock and roll anthem relevant to Transformers? Well, the name of that song was Rumble.
Man, you took us around the bend. We got there.
Which is also the slang term that greasers use to describe a big fight.
Oh yeah,
like, oh, we're having a rumble down by the Exxon station, or the Texaco or whatever. And so, thinking of all of that, that made me wonder if the character Rumble is named after the song Rumble, or if at least the voice was patterned after that. Like, maybe the voice actor was like, "Oh, this guy's name is Rumble. I'm gonna play him like a '50s greaser or something along those lines."
Great connection. I've never would have guessed that. I don't know if anyone else has ever brought that up. That's a great trail of breadcrumbs you left. Maybe, I mean, he really obviously is. He's modeled after a '50s greaser. He is a Lenny and Squiggy kind of guy.
Yeah, he absolutely is, and I thought that was a cool connection. So I didn't know if it was something that had ever been brought up in the past or anything.
That's a fantastic like reference, and like I like how you strung on all together like that. But yeah, I doubt anyone else has ever really brought that up, because as much as that music probably is right up my alley, I really I've never heard of him. I'm gonna go listen to him after this, obviously.
If you hear the song, you'll be like, "Oh, that song." Okay. I know what you're talking about. But with that being said, though, are there any Transformers that you think would be in a band? And if so, what kind of music would they play?
Okay, now I'm gonna caveat this with everyone listening that we both know the newer band, the Cybertronic Spree. Fun band. Yeah. And it's actually like, there's a guy playing Rumble in that band actually too.
Oh, Rumble is in the band?
Yeah, Rumble's in the band.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah. Kidding. That's pretty cool.
But anyways, so yeah, I mean, obviously the first two that come to mind would be Blaster and Soundwave. I mean, they're basically like, they're both sides of oh god, what is the I guess complete synth band that has the two guys in the robot costumes?
Oh, they're like Daft Punk or something.
Daft Punk.
Yeah. So
guys mean like straight up Daft Punk vibes.
Yeah, I can see that. That's a good one. I can totally see that.
I'll tell you, man. It's funny. I was just thinking about this the other day too. I'm familiar with a lot more characters than you are, so this is like a big ask to say, like, which ones do you think would be in bands? Like, I could, like, I could say like Ironhide, Trailbreaker, Gears, and Huffer would be in like some sort of Traveling Wilburys band, a bunch of old, classic rock guys,
Those guys are playing like covers and like
oh God,
some
yes.
terrible dive bar or something like that. Like yeah. See, the first one that you think of that was like jazz
Oh,
and like
obviously, yeah.
jazz is he's in a jazz band. See, I think jazz jazz is too obvious though. Like his name is Jazz, and he probably plays lip service to liking jazz music, but he doesn't actually play jazz.
That is a
DJ Jazzy Jeff doesn't play jazz. He plays hip hop. He's influenced by jazz, but he doesn't play jazz music. Like I think Jazz would be in a funk band. Like he's probably like Shalimar or like Parliament, like playing the bass or something like that. When like Bootsy Collins is off for the night or something.
Yeah,
like
man,
that,
he's on the bebop music.
Yeah,
That's fantastic, actually. Yeah, good call there. I mean, because there's yeah, obviously you would think like Scatman, like scat music, because of Scatman Carruthers. He plays them a lot like that.
which is jazz. But I still think that because he's like a sports car though. He's not like a I feel like a guy that like if he was an actual jazz guy, he would be like a 40s like Mercury or something like that. Like he wouldn't be like this this high octane race car or something like that. So
there's actually something funny. I want to say it was brought up in one of the subsequent later Transformers iterations called Transformers Animated. It was very stylized. Aaron Archer, Wyatt, who he was basically the Wyatt was the guy behind everything. Derek Wyatt. He actually passed away somewhat recently, in the recent year or so. But he had a very interesting style. But he made the Stunticons, which are like it'll come up in season 2 where the Motormaster is a purple and black and with a gray trailer semi, and all the others are they're sports cars. He did him in the show like a little quick cameo of him looking like Lemmy, just like Lemmy.
no kidding.
Yeah, which is fantastic. I mean, they're all a bunch of jerks, except I think Dead End, which is the nihilistic of the bunch. He would sing Smith's covers, but Motormaster rather. I mean, these are his quotes. Like, these wheels are made for crushing. He like they gave him a full on handlebar mustache and shades and stuff on the when they did him as a kind of a artistic impression of him. They're all jerks. No one likes to talk to them. They just break stuff and they blow stuff up, and they're not even like even Dragstrip, who's it's essentially like a Formula One style race car. Not even Megatron likes to talk to him. He's like, yeah, all right, man, cool. I'm glad you're here. You're a big help, but don't talk to me. So I mean, they would easily be like that jerk, like I don't know, metal band that no one wanted to deal with, but they liked the music and it was pretty good. But their personalities were terrible.
So basically, Motorhead. Then.
Yeah, essentially Motorhead. Yeah. So it really works well in that regard. I mean, there's just so many that you can choose from. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I was kind of the whole idea of Motormaster looking like Lemmy, and then like thinking like Dead End, who would sing like sad, Moby covers, and yeah, I mean that's kind of what I think of.
Like, yeah. I think those Seekers have a band, but not the ones on Earth though. Like the ones on Earth just work on engines in their free time. Like Skywarp, obviously that's all he does because he's so fast he can teleport. But those 3 Seekers we saw on Cybertron though, like those guys are all crisp and in formation. Like those guys have a band that sounds like Kraftwerk or something. Like these guys are total like proto synth pop stuff.
That I mean. Or they could be doing like an 80s style hair metal with they're all in unison, swinging their hair in a circle. I mean, that's definitely.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I can
like everyone at once, swing your hair in a circle.
They're also. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I meant to bring this up too. When we were talking about like bands that are inspired, I found this CD years ago, by this is a ska band. They're not really good. Called the Decepticons with a Z on the end of it.
Oh no.
And the last song on the album is like a quick summary of like the the Transformers from the beginning. Like I'll find that for you too and give you a link to it. It's
why didn't we just play that song instead of doing an episode this week? We could have just saved ourselves like an hour.
No, man, I don't want to subject that. I don't want to subject everyone to bad ska. I mean, we've already had enough of that in the 90s.
As opposed to
okay, well, fair enough.
that was harsh. I like that. I like the specials. Yeah, but I think I think Prowl and Hound have like a police cover band because they like the gimmick, but nobody likes them enough to hang out with them. So it's just like Prowl singing "Send It Out" an SOS Dinobots over and over again.
Oh, God, I see what you did there, man. Okay.
God, yeah.
All right, that was.
It took a little.
I was wondering where you going there, man. It was around the bend.
It took a little. It took a little while to get that one this week. So yeah, man. Yeah.
I love the way this episode starts out. By the way, their base is within a recently active volcano, right? So they are confused that there's tremors going on. So
well, I mean, they're from a metal planet, so they probably don't have seismic activity. So it almost kind of makes sense. I don't know. Yeah. Ironhide pops up. He's got a little radar in his arm, but then also his windshield TV screen.
That is the ultimate CRT, man.
It was a huge CRT. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Those Nissan van windshields.
It was a Nissan. I'll find the model and everything. Like we actually were watching a show recently. I think it's on Netflix. It has one of the recent Doctors from Doctor Who in it. There's a vehicle involved, which is the exact same model as Ironhide, a red Nissan.
Oh, van. I think it was a Justy it's a little toaster looking van.
Yeah, it's something like The Devil something on Netflix. I'll have to check it out. But anyways, yeah. So they were like, volcano, there's tremors going on. Let's investigate this. So he uses his radar screen to detect or radar in his arm weird formations in the rocks that look weirdly similar to dinosaur skeletons.
Oh, and Spike goes nuts over this. Dinosaurs. Like in Jurassic Park, like he's the little DNA guy from Jurassic Park. Dino DNA.
I just
he sounded like that guy. And what's funny is when he said that, like everybody said dinosaurs. Like the rest of the episode, dinosaurs. It was ridiculous. It was like holograms. Like, and I'm like, dinosaurs aren't new at this point. People know what dinosaurs are. Dinosaurs.
So yeah, I mean they start just digging in the side of the mountain. They're inside those little cavern they're in. Sideswipe and Brawn get to digging and towards the tremors. And weirdly, there's this big open cavern. There's break away a wall.
There's a tunnel right there.
All the dinosaurs laid in there and just die.
They're just laying there in this tunnel.
They're just like, this is our resting place. We're gonna stop right here.
Hundreds of millions of years, like
and they all fossilize where they laid down. By the way,
right where they lay down.
That's not how fossils work.
Oh my god, Dr. Alan Grant somewhere is just like having a complete meltdown over this episode.
Yeah, he's rubbing his Velociraptor claw in his pocket, like shaking his head at this. Yeah, so the cavern is filled with dinosaur fossils. They look around and Optimus Prime suggests that Spike should tell them more about these dinosaurs.
Yeah.
So he takes Hound to the museum, which there's a couple of like punk metal guys.
There's a punk rocker there. There's an 80s punk rocker there
with a mohawk and everything.
Dude,
it's pretty heavy metal.
He must have gotten off a space bridge from 1977 London to get here.
Oh yeah, he just stepped off the bus from Star Trek 4, where after Spock gave him the pinch.
Man, it's hard out there for a punk rocker. You got to get to work where you can get it. But that's what I call heavy metal. And yet again, 80s media conflates punk rock and heavy metal, which as a guy that has spent a lot of time in both of those scenes, kind of hurt my feelings a little bit.
I could tell.
Yeah. Right around this time, also, Reflector and Soundwave are spying on humans again. Like
Another
Soundwave
dam.
has like another dam, and Soundwave has a tentacle with a little microphone on it. And once again, they're the only ones that take the disguise part seriously.
He's got a parabolic mic on the end of this tentacle thing,
And
which is
these guys
fantastic.
are. And what right? What's funny about that is that you could do the same amount of spying today just with a cell phone.
It's true, actually.
Like you don't need two Decepticons for this.
Okay, the thing that this is 38 years in the future, man. 38 years.
38 years. Yep.
So I love this. Optimus Prime gives him the go ahead. He's like, yeah, robot dinosaurs might be useful. And Huffer, who is he's just insufferable this entire episode. He's like, it will never work. He has that whiny heckler voice, which kills me. It kind of got there. I remembered why I didn't like the character. But
that voice is pretty awful.
Yeah.
So the thing is, if they can just build new Autobots on the fly like this, why haven't they built more in the past? Because they have the means to do it, and it seems like maybe they should have a jet, or maybe they should have something useful instead of, randomly we came across some dinosaur bones and let's build some dinosaur transformers. It was pretty odd. I don't know why they don't just keep making new guys. I think they're the only ones that have the means to it, because they have Teletran 1. I guess they have they can create new cores or whatever. I guess like,
maybe I don't know.
I don't know.
That's another thing for up for debate for later on. But yeah, I mean, after this, that's how this episode goes. There may be a little caution thrown at that, but on the other hand,
that's a good point.
On the other hand, I mean, Wheeljack got inspired, man. He's like, I'm gonna make him. Maybe it was just like he needed that inspiration. He needed to like go through all the processes. Who knows?
Which you said, I think last week, that he's kind of a mad scientist.
Yeah.
Which now I completely see it. It makes total sense now.
Yeah.
Somebody calls somebody a Fang Factory. At this point, and that was pretty funny. I'll add it to the list of Transformers expletives.
Yeah, so I mean, so they work on they're like they have an engine block lift lowering the body of one of the Dinobots onto this feet. Apparently, they can't attach the feet to the legs that lower them on it. They're working on like a helmet at one point too, which kind of calls for to the later on in the episode. And just all these little different parts. And Ratchet and Wheeljack are kind of going back and forth and working on this, or giving each other a thumbs up kind of thing. Like, yeah, we got this. It's gonna be great. So they line all the Autobots up. They're all assembled to see what Wheeljack and Ratchet have made. And Huffer makes a dumb joke at him, and the rest of them are all marveling how big the Dinobots are. Wheeljack remarks they have tiny brains like real dinosaurs for some reason. Why would you do that?
I was going to ask the same thing. But the thing is, somebody says Dinobots. I thought you were supposed to make dinosaurs.
That was Huffer.
This is the silliest.
That was a bad joke.
Silliest line. This was the silliest line. Right before this, there's a little insert clip there with Megatron and Starscream arguing yet again. And Megatron comes up with a plan, doesn't tell anybody the plan, and tells them to prepare for conquest. Like, dude, we've been preparing for conquest for 4 million years. Like now we're ready to deploy. Now what was going on? So
I like that though. They once again they're attacking a dam, but Megatron finally says, we have renewable energy. We can continue tapping as much as we need to. So they're not going to go shut down the generators. They're not going to, use this limited source. They're going to continue taking energy from the dam and just stockpile, which is something they could have done the entire time. But
exactly. It's also very forward thinking and very green. And you don't see the Autobots doing that kind of stuff.
No, they don't have to.
The Decepticons found green energy. There's a Bernie Sanders Decepticon somewhere. Good for him. So this time, man, the Dinobots run amok though. Like they have computer brains, but they just made them stupid. They're the stupidest computers on the face of the earth.
They gave him tiny brains, just like real
brains, just like a dinosaur.
dinosaurs.
You gotta keep it authentic, man. Thanks, Wheeljack. Grimlock wrecks Teletran 1, and then he just stands there. This is the first of many bizarre animation things in this. He just kind of stands there and stares at it for like it's like while all these other guys are running around doing stuff. Like I think Bumblebee comes up and all this, and
yeah,
and he's just kind of standing there. He's just like a stupid dog, like looking out the window. He's looking at this broken computer screen for like 15 seconds. Like okay, let's go break something else, or let's fight somebody or something.
Yeah, there's a great part in that where Bumblebee, there's all this bedlam going on around him. Bumblebee goes and picks up Spike, they run in there, and they just basically drive up to Grimlock, and they're like, "No!" as Grimlock destroys a big giant CRT on the wall, and then they drive away. Like they did absolutely nothing.
It was really weird. And then there's a weird part there where they focus on Spike's face and it doesn't move for like it's probably 20 seconds. Yeah. But meanwhile, Ratchet's talking off screen. He's saying something off screen, and like Spike's face like sits frozen for like 10 seconds, and then he just like moves like to the right, like he does like Blue Steel and moves to the right for a second for 10 more seconds. While somebody's talking off screen, it was like they didn't want to. Like, we're not paying to animate anything extra in this one. Like this was the biggest nosedive in animation so far. It was really bizarre.
But you know what? To go back to I think call back to a couple episodes back, they drew a rainbow at the bottom of the waterfalls with Megatron.
There's another one here. They did another rainbow. This one.
Rainbow.
It was great.
It was just like that's pleasant. Okay, well, you know what? It makes sense. Bottom of a waterfall, there's gonna be a big rainbow.
I'm a big fan of the rainbows. I like when those. I really like when those show up. You know what? And what's funny about that is, I swear to God, I made a note for it, but I guess it didn't show because I was gonna. Oh no, there is a note. It's a little further. It's a little further down, but
it was just like it was just out there. It was so blatant. Like they like, hey, there's all this destruction. Here's a rainbow.
Somebody really wanted it, but it's always when the Decepticons are on screen. So you don't ever see a rainbow with the Autobots are on screen. So
weird. So Optimus Prime says the Dinobots must be destroyed. Okay, well there you go. His quote on his tech spec was, "Freedom is the right of all sentient beings, except if you're a Dinobot." Apparently, they must be destroyed.
Well, they have small brains. They're not that.
Well, yeah, they're not that. They're only slightly sentient. Okay.
Some guy. I don't know who this guy is. This big Chevy Suburban. He makes a force field, and then he calls Trailbreaker. He calls Ironhide old.
Well, they're a bunch of old guys, man.
He's real mean to Ironhide. Wheeljack though, Wheeljack does a rapper pose. And the way they animate his hand in this, it's giant. It's supposed to be like a perspective where the hand is closer, but his hand is huge. It's like he's got like a Warhammer Power Fist on almost. It's giant.
This is a CD cover, man, with this huge hand on the turntable.
It is. He's about to drop a mixtape. It's almost like the cover of the guy from the first Limp Bizkit record. Almost. And that's the first and last time you will ever hear me talk about Limp Bizkit on this show, guys. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, man. But then Wheeljack just shoots the Dinobots with some kind of laser in the transformer into robots, and I guess that turns them off.
Yeah, kind of like it shorts them out or something. Some magnetic. I don't know.
I don't know what it was.
I forgot the name of it. I was going to write that down. Apparently, did not.
And then they just seal them away in the cave. They don't destroy them or take them apart. They use the parts. They just put them in a cave.
No, they're just they seal the cave up. They have to get together and shoot the cave wall, and then crumbles down, and it's problem solved.
That's a very common cartoon trope from the 80s too, is sealing somebody in a cave like that by shooting the entrance of the cave. Did you notice though that they had transformed back into dinosaur mode when they sealed them in the cave?
It was like almost like their standby mode.
Right.
They were.
But when they shut down, they went from dinosaur to robot mode. And then when they put them away, they I don't know.
They were among the brethren of fossilized bones in there. They wanted to feel at home, I guess. I don't know. So meanwhile, the Decepticons attack the dam and proceed to make Energon. They try to call Teletran, the humans that there try to call Teletran 1, but get no response since the giant CRT is busted.
Yeah, because everybody knows that with a computer, if you break the screen, then the computer itself is broken. Because that's the whole thing there. Yeah. Optimus Prime It's talking about 8,000 astroseconds.
There's a lot of astroseconds in
A
this.
lot of astroseconds, man.
I love it. Hound and Spike just go out on patrol, and Hound's like, "Yeah, I like to get out of the base and just drive around."
He wanted to go sightseeing.
Yeah, he loves it here. And so he gets like a little he has this little turret machine gun on the back of his Jeep, finds the signal, and he pulls up somehow with this signal of electronics so far off. He pulls up a hologram that shows in perfect clarity, the Megatron over at the waterfall, probably where the rainbow comes in. They're just talking, they're like, yeah, we're gonna make all the energon, and they're showing the Decepticons at Great Falls. So he sends back word to the Autobots. So apparently, since Teletran 1's busted, they can't use any other part of it. They can't use the satellite or anything. It's all
nothing works.
One
he's completely destroyed. So they have to, he has to communicate directly with Optimus Prime. So Optimus Prime is like, oh, he's not having this. He's like, all right, Autobots, let's roll out. But in the middle of this, they're all starting to transform, and poor Bumblebee gets shut down.
He transforms not you, Bumblebee.
Not you, Bumblebee. He doesn't even finish transforming. He hasn't transformed back, so they played the transform sound backwards when he turned
2/3 of the way there and stops and goes back.
This poor kid, man. Bumblebee couldn't catch a break here, and OP completely shut him down, man. I felt so sorry for Bumblebee in this one. Oh man. Oh, so yeah, the Energon's back in the cubes though, which is cool. Except for Rumble. Rumble's carrying the folded towel once again.
Well, yeah, the pizza boxes, man.
Well, these had the rounded outside.
Oh,
so it was the folded. It was like almost
full towels.
Like the folded. Yeah, he's got the full towels. And Rumble's all over this episode, man, with those pile drivers. I like this guy more every episode. He's going to be he's in the inner circle at this point.
He's still an idiot, but he's fun.
Oh, he's great though. He's definitely in there with Soundwave and Ravage and Jazz. Those are the he's in the club at this point.
Do this. So yeah, I don't know if you noticed this though. He sends like all the heavy hitters to the dam. Every one of like all the big Ironhide. He sends Prowl, Blue Streak. He sends all the Brawn. He sends Huffer. Everyone, all the heavy hitters go to the dam and leaves Bumblebee to guard the base. What is he gonna do? Is he gonna guard the giant gaping garage door hole for their base?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know that he's gonna do anything except for call them. But then again, if they all know, if the Autobots know that all the Decepticons are there, I mean, what is he really guarding against at this point? I guess just random cassettes finding their way into the.
Don't be useless. Stay here. So yeah, they show up and like. A fight, of course, breaks out, and there's a lot of like just random shooting. No one's hitting anything, and there's this great animation error during this. They show up though. Trailbreaker transforms, Ironhide transforms, and Blue Streak transforms from a robot into a car. Like it's like only not you. So there was a weird animation error. They probably meant to flip the animation the other way. So yeah, it's a battle of bad shooting. It's a bunch of stormtroopers out there shooting at each other.
There was a lot of bad shooting in this. Somebody told somebody else that they had glitch mites in their databanks. That was a good one. Somebody, I think Starscream called somebody Rusty Pants. Rusty Pants. How did that become a part of the Transformer vernacular? They don't know anything about clothes.
I don't know what they do in their off time.
Rusty Pants.
Maybe there is.
Yeah.
So Megatron hooks his fusion cannon up with the main power source of the dam. Basically, two huge Dr. Claw style tubes to the back of his fusion cannon. Which, okay, once again, like I probably wouldn't know way too much about the stuff. Not as much as some, but Megatron's fusion cannon was supposed to draw power through this like dimensional gate to a collapsing star, like to a black hole. That's where his power is supposed to come from for the fusion cannon. Apparently, that's just too cool.
Hook up to a factory is going to be better than that.
Apparently so. So that's going to be really too cool. We can't have that.
Good lord.
So yeah, it hooks it up to a dam, to the dam to the power source, and shoots. The Autobots are standing on this piece of like rock on the edge, falling almost into the river. So he shoots that, blows a huge ravine into the rock, and they fall into the river. And apparently that means they're done for. They can't swim. You know this.
Yeah, when they fall down. Anytime Optimus Prime falls down, he's
waterlogged.
He's done. So Wheeljack's back at the Ark though, and he wants to upgrade the Dinobots. Like, what a fantastic idea, bro! Why didn't you do this like way earlier on? Why wasn't this? Yeah,
just like real dinosaurs.
So they upgrade the guys, and now they're semi-intelligent at this point. They're functionally intelligent at this point. However, Wheeljack is still talking to these guys like he's like a middle-aged tourist talking to a street kid in Tijuana. He's like, do you understand? And this kid doesn't speak, he only speaks Spanish, and he's like, he thinks if he just talks louder and slower that they'll get it.
Yeah, while the kid goes, okay. And they're like, oh, I guess we'll help our friends. They're talking like Frankenstein's monster.
They very much are Frankenstein's.
They really are.
At this point.
They were given the Abby normal brain from young Frankenstein.
Frankenstein. Right. So there's another animation glitch here is that Optimus Prime is blue.
Yeah,
he's completely blue, and it's kind of a good look for him though. That'd be a good alternate.
I kind of was like, well, I can explain that away. He's really low in power. Maybe he's just like looking really bad, and I don't know. Sure, we'll go with that. They're all like,
his paint loses pigment when he feels bad. Well, they got like sentient.
Maybe his paint's a giant mood ring. I don't know. But yeah, he revised the Autobots with the new control helmets. They're still idiots. So, but luckily they can fly. So they just take off and go towards the battle. And there's this great thing where he goes, God, I think it's Sledge goes no, Slag, which by the way, funny little side note, they changed the name of Slag in later incarnations because slag is a defamatory British term.
Yes, for a woman of low moral standing. Yes.
So that there they call him Slug, and I can't call him Slug. It seems like why Slug. You say like a slug, a projectile, a bullet slug. You can say that, but it doesn't make sense.
I mean, yeah, it's supposed to like melted metal and that kind of thing.
This woman of ill repute asks Sludge, how do we know who are the friends? And he goes, oh, they have this face on their chest like we do. It works. It's not rocket science, but it works. So they show up and immediately start laying into all the Decepticons. The best part is Wheeljack shows up, shoots Megatron with his like magnetic shell thing, and Megatron's like on the ground. He can't do anything.
Destroyed Megatron with one shot. Why did he need the Dinobots? Like, he could have just apparently that's the most powerful weapon that the Autobots have. It's even more powerful than Optimus Prime's cannon.
Yeah, and you'll never see it again, obviously.
And one-shotted Megatron in the gut. But the best part about this is Starscream immediately takes over. And he's like, oh, Megatron has fallen. I guess that means Starscream's the leader. And every Decepticon sells Megatron out. Like, everyone's like, all right, well, let's all fly away together. See you later, Megatron.
This is great. I put it in all caps because, once again, Megatron has fallen. I, Starscream, and now your leader. Get out of here. So...
Yeah, that's his first. It seems like his first command is always, let's retreat. Let's get out of here.
But man, the greaser, Rumble, he has this great rhyme. Dude. If on Decepticon turf you happen to stumble, look out, robot, because here comes Rumble. Dude. That was so good.
He comes out and raps at the Dinobots. Dude.
It's so good. I love it, man.
And then the Dinobots have Godzilla breath weapons, and they're just like they're breathing atomic breath all over everything. Dude, Rumble rapped at them. It was oh my god, it's a total rap battle. This was great. I love this so much. And then Starscream's flying, and Grimlock bites him out of the sky. He just reaches up and bites his wing, and yanks him out of the sky. Like, how low are you flying?
That's actually great. The season 2 opening animation has that as part of the opening, like the intro to the show.
I'm just gonna watch that over and over again because that's all I want to see from now on is a robot Tyrannosaurus biting an F-15 out of the sky by the way. This was amazing. This was probably the coolest fight move I've seen in this show so far. I absolutely love this, man. This is so good. And
how about like so like yeah, Rumble does that. He starts pounding the ground and creating a crevice, with his pylons, and Sledge just goes over there and goes bam and opens the one next to him, makes him fall over, and his pylons, his arms fall off.
They fell off.
That poor guy,
they fell off. I know. What did he do? What did he do to deserve that?
He tried to rat battle the Dinobot, man. Got no time for that.
I know. The Dinobot can't even rat back at him. He doesn't even have a sick rhyme or anything for him. It's ridiculous, dude. Megatron transforms into a pistol, a giant pistol, but he becomes like a Robotech style gun pod for Starscream. Like Starscream's like flying him around and using him as like a giant like blaster, like a big railgun on the bottom.
Clips from the bottom. He's got the little black clip from the bottom of the jet, right on there.
Oh, does that actually
on Uncle Mode?
Does that actually work? Wait, that actually works?
No.
Oh, I was supposed to say you can do that with toys.
No.
That'd be fantastic. A lot of foresight if you could.
That'd be fantastic. No. But yeah, it goes in there and it doesn't last very long. Basically, the Dinobots go in there and just mop up. And Wheeljack. Okay, so he takes Blue Streak's flare gun to like dry them all out because they're in the river. Apparently, they got waterlogged. Yeah, no, it was I can't remember whose flare gun it was, but then it was Blue Streak's like volt gun to give them all like a big jolt of energy, so they all break out of the chains. And
that's all you need. Yeah, they were in with the Energon chains, and they looked really cool. They looked like a kind of a trippy hologram sticker, and I like that.
Kind of did.
But no, I think what he said was that Blue Streak had like some sort of a energy charger that could crank them back up. I guess Energon, even though Energon is energy, I guess somehow if you're chained up by it, it drains your energy. I was real confused on that whole thing. Spike and Bumblebee come up. Bumblebee drives up with his cool pink upholstery once again. I'm glad they kept consistency with that. Nice. But Spike gets out and he's giant compared to Bumblebee. Like it's like he got out of like a Power Wheel. and he was so big. Like Bumblebee was like knee high. Like in car mode, he was like up to his knee or something like that. It was like a clown car. This was like, yet again, it's like they farmed this animation out. Ooh man, that was not good.
Well, apparently the scale isn't just an issue for the Transformers; it's an issue for Spike.
So he gets big. But maybe it was the Transformer. Maybe it was Bumblebee's fault. Maybe Bumblebee just shrunk himself down. Like so yeah. So they ran the Decepticons off, and everyone is cheering, except for the Dinobots can't cheer. So what did they do? They all transformed together, and they roared.
Yeah. Like, they did a full-on Godzilla, and we'll go back to the water roar.
They did. They very much did do that, and that was the end.
Yeah, I mean, Bumblebee shows up. He's like, "I'm sorry, I disobeyed your orders, Prime." He's like, "Oh, it's okay." Didn't teach Bumblebee anything. Bumblebee and the Wheeljack get a pass.
Everybody disobeyed orders from Optimus Prime, and it was okay. I guess maybe you were right. Maybe you knew better than me after all. So this guy is terrible at asserting any sort of leadership over people that are under him.
Well, once again, he hits on the head though, man. Come on, think about it.
He did have a lot of hits on the head, but once again,
he goes down every episode.
He does. Megatron's a superior leader. I'm gonna say it. So, and that was it. That was the end.
Fun episode. Nothing really. The Dinobots came in and. Wheeljack is a bad inventor. He's a bad mad scientist.
Yeah, very much is.
Yeah, I'm gonna build these things just like they were as living creatures. I don't care that there's been millions of years of evolution. We're gonna do it just like this. So
yeah, I don't know, but so dinosaurs seemed like they were huge in the 80s. I mean, I was a kid in the 80s, and they seemed like they were a big thing. I don't have much of a cultural point of reference to the 60s and 70s much, but it seemed like dinosaurs were almost sort of a cool thing to be into when you were under like age 12 in the 80s. You know, like ninjas were the coolest guys in the 80s, but dinosaurs had to be pretty high up there too. And finally, they kind of popped off, and they made the jump when Jurassic Park came out in the early 90s, and they just became, you know, part of the regular everyday talking at that point. But
well, the thing is though, it's so much easier. You can actually become a ninja with like a dark blue jogging suit and like a headscarf, and you know you train in your backyard. You can't become a dinosaur. So I mean,
that's a good point. That's a yeah.
You're all
If you set off
ninjas
for
at
that,
point.
you can set off for that course in the back of Black Belt magazine also, and get your full ninja suit and
Yeah.
and all that kind
Yeah,
of stuff.
t-shirt
But
ninja.
you know, but I mean, overall, man, this was actually a pretty fun episode,
Yeah.
top to bottom. There was stuff that didn't really make sense, like the stupid dinosaur robots. But yeah, who cares, man? You got new Transformers in this one, which hadn't really happened since the first couple of episodes. You know, you got the lineup and the roll call again, which is you know, harkens back to the, you know, first couple of episodes of the big toy ad. You got some group transformations about the Dinobots. You established that they absolutely wreck face in robot fights. These guys are fantastic. I would say that I would have begged my mom for all three of those guys the second that I saw this episode. But the truth be told, I did actually have a Dinobot. But it wasn't one of these. It was the pterodactyl.
Oh yeah, swoop.
It
comes in later.
Okay. No, that was my question. You know, where was, because I think there was one more also. Wasn't there another one?
Yeah, there was also a Stegosaurus.
Stegosaurus, yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, that's Snarl. No,
Snarl. Okay.
Yes, you kind of get the idea of how they're
they're all S's. Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. They were built here, you know, as new, you know, Transformers on the planet for the episode. During the comic, there was a point where Shockwave comes to the planet when they're all crashed and they're all asleep in the Ark, and so Teletran 1 wakes up, you know, basically the 5 to become the Dinobots, and they're not dumb in the comics. They're actually just like they're like
oh yeah,
bunch of jerks or berserkers. Yeah, essentially, Grimlock in the comics was just kind of a good field commander, good general.
So, in regard to these toys, though, were these Japanese toys before they got imported to the? But were these the first new Transformer like figures that came out, or
No,
was this the first of Wave 2, or were they part of Wave 1?
No, they're part of Wave 1. Well, they're like 1.5 or whatever. We'll say
okay.
That.
So these didn't come out. These weren't with the initial launch. With
no, they were
okay.
Now these three, I mean, they had little chambers where you can put a little pilot, like a Diaclone pilot. I think these were part of the Diaclone line.
Oh, were they Diaclone? Okay.
Yeah, Diaclone. Yeah, that line. Which I love this commercial so much.
They are really good commercials.
Yeah, we were like, you and I were laughing at when I were over there playing D&D or whatever we were playing, and then
those were great. We should definitely do an episode on those at some point. We should just do like a full episode on Diaclone commercials.
So they all have these little cockpits, so you can put a little Diaclone figure in, and it didn't really, you know, work with Transformers because they didn't really have that. So yeah, these were part of, like, I'd say like Wave 1.5, you know, they came out after the initial wave of Transformers figures. They were pretty big and they're a little more pricey than a lot of them, so you know they were kind of a heavy sought after. I never actually had any when I was younger. I think first one I got, weirdly enough, is when they reissued them during what they call Generation 2, which the first line of Generation 2 is a bunch of reissues from the original show, just with slight recolors or repaints or, you know, whatever body effects. And like, yeah, my first one was Snarl, and he was like red, like instead of the silver plastic, he was all red plastic with like gold stuff. So yeah, I mean, they were actually a huge thing. People like sought after these things. So yeah, I mean, Grimlock was a hot commodity amongst you know kid groups.
Huh, weird.
Yeah.
Do you know who was a writer on Transformers Generation 2?
Well,
Baron Douglas Alice Booth, or Alan Booth was a writer on.
Well, say Generation 2, the show actually was a rehashing of this. So weren't they kind of they used his name as Generation 2? there was like a 12-issue limited comic series, but I don't know, maybe he has something to do with that.
Yeah, maybe so.
He's a baron, he can do what he wants.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But yeah, so my I don't know. I mean, this episode had some recycled elements, like Optimus Prime getting hurt and captured yet again, and the Decepticon stealing energy from a power plant yet again. But yeah, I mean, who cares? Man, it was dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs.
I mean, it was dinosaurs. There was Rumble was rapping at somebody.
Yeah.
This was this was a pretty fun episode, and it was a lot of like, this doesn't really make sense at all, but you know what, like there's three Frankenstein robot dinosaurs that are just absolutely like going nuts and wrecking face on Decepticons, and some new toys, and this is really cool. So my kid brain is I'm gonna give this one a Jurassic sized four black leather jackets out of 5. 4 rumbling black leather jackets out of 5. I think this might be the highest I've rated an episode since episode 1. I think
that's pretty strong, man.
I think yeah, it was good, man. I liked it a lot. Yeah, it was cool.
This I haven't watched this episode in a long time. I there's a I sent you the link to it earlier. There's this guy, Dr. Smooth, who kind of redubs, does a pretty good job of it. These like clipped together, episodes that are kind of ridiculous. And yeah, there's so much that's just so stupid with the episode. Like, we're gonna make dinosaurs with little brains. That doesn't make any sense. But it was fun because we all loved dinosaurs when we were kids, man. It was growing up in the 80s, dinosaurs. We had books and coloring books and science books. They're all new. Sometimes they're wrong, but they're all new. So it was a big age of wonder. Then, of course, Jurassic Park came out, and that just blew up, like you said earlier. So I mean, really, I'd give I think for how much fun this episode was, and we kind of brought up some of the better characters with the Dinobots. I mean, I would give this 4 drop pylon arms out of 5 myself. It was pretty slick.
This is a good one. Yeah, I think it's unanimous. This is one of our favorite episodes collectively so far. This was good stuff.
Animation errors aside.
Yeah, animation errors aside. But I mean, that's one of those things that it's going to pop up in every cartoon from this era. Here's some behind the scenes stuff for you guys that are listening. We've been talking about doing a side episode on Robotech at some point, and I've been before we were talking about that, I've been going back and watching Robotech because it was on a ridiculously cheap sale on iTunes recently. And there is some really bad farmed out animation in that show, and there's a lot of weird scale stuff and ugly faces and things that are shooting from things that shouldn't be shooting, missiles coming from places that don't have missiles, and that kind of thing. So it's forgivable because I understand how animation studios work, and hey, look, we can't get the stuff done, but there's some guys down the street that work for cheap, so let's get those guys to do this for us so we can meet this deadline. And that's it happens, and it's fine. It's just I just really love to pick it out when I see it because it's fun to laugh at it.
Who's the Zentradi, like kind of the sidekick of
I think you're talking about Exodor, the short guy, right?
Yeah, his face looked like a big potato.
His face always looked like potato. Most Zentradis kind of look like potatoes for the most part, but Exodor,
yeah.
As a preview to us doing that, Exodor in the deep lore of Macross, not Robotech, but of Macross, Exodor was one of the earliest created Zentradi.
Really?
And he was almost like a prototype, and that's why he's smarter than the rest of them. He's like almost like a chief scientist for them because he was cloned or created by whoever made the Zentradi. In Robotech, it was the Robotech Masters. In Macross, it was I think they were created by either by the protoculture beings or by the inspection forces. Maybe I'm not exactly sure because that stuff is translated and retranslated, and
Yeah, it's pretty in the
you know,
weeds.
there's it's a lot of like handwritten notes.
You know, one thing they'll
all this
never
kind of stuff.
understand as a scientist, they'll never understand love.
No, they will not. And so yeah, so that was it. That was SOS Dinobots.
SOS Dinobots.
Yeah. All right,
man. Yeah, I'll go ahead. I want to you go ahead and give us our quote of the episode.
Oh, why are we fighting to save the humans? They're a primitive and violent race.
Who is that?
Ironhide.
I like it. All right,
well,
guys.
I mean, he's not wrong.
No, he's not. God, he's not at all. You know, I drive around here some days I feel like that. All right, so I'm going to put how to get in contact with us in the show notes, but I will let you know right off the bat that Edhatestransformers, all one word, at gmail.com, Morethanmeetstheseguys at gmail.com, MTMTG pod is our Twitter handle. I will also have links to the Discord, and well, there's a Facebook page. Look it up, Morethanmeetstheseguys. It has a big shot of an atrocious Gobot as the icon. So I will, like I said, I'll put all that in the show notes so you don't have to remember what I said, because who knows, I may have garbled it a little bit. So Ed, I appreciate being here, man, and I look forward to doing that Robotech soon, because I am not the expert you are, so that'll be fun.
All right. Yeah, I'm very excited for that as well.
So everyone, thanks for being here this week, and we hope to see you next week, and get a hold of us. We'd like to talk to you guys. All right. Y'all take it easy. Thank you so much.
Roll out.
Roll out.